What is the ego? Why does it have such a profound grip on our lives, shaping how we think, act, and perceive the world? Today, we'll embark on an in-depth journey into the nature of the ego, what it is, how it operates, and how understanding it can transform your life. Let's begin by defining the ego. At its core, the ego is our sense of self, the I that we believe ourselves to be. It's the identity we craft through our thoughts, experiences, and social conditioning. The ego whispers, "This is who you are," yet it also shouts, "You must protect this identity at all costs." It's the part of us that seeks recognition, fears rejection, and strives to differentiate itself from others. While it can motivate us to grow and achieve, it often traps us in a cycle of comparison, insecurity, and unnecessary suffering. Consider this. When was the last time you felt offended, superior, or deeply insecure? All these emotions have a common root, the ego. It's the ego that convinces us we are always the center of the story, whether as the hero, the villain, or the victim. It constantly narrates our experiences, framing them in ways that inflate or diminish our sense of self. But what if the ego's story is incomplete or even false? Marcus Aurelius, one of the great Stoic philosophers, offers us a profound insight in his "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." The ego thrives on external validation, on controlling perceptions and outcomes. It convinces us that our worth is tied to how others see us, or what we achieve. Yet, as Marcus points out, true strength lies in controlling our internal world, not the unpredictable and often uncontrollable external one. The ego is a master of illusions. It creates a false sense of separateness, telling us we are isolated from others and from the world around us. This illusion feeds the belief that our value comes from being better, stronger, or more successful than others. But when we buy into this illusion, we miss the deeper truth, that we are all interconnected. By clinging to the ego's separateness, we disconnect from the very things that bring genuine fulfillment, compassion, collaboration, and belonging. To understand the ego, we must learn from the masters of self-mastery. The Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca, devoted much of their philosophy to overcoming the ego. They believed that the ego's primary flaw is its tendency to misjudge what truly matters. Epictetus, in his, urges us to distinguish between what is within our control and what is not. He writes, "It is not events that disturb us but our interpretation of their significance." The ego is the part of us that gets overly attached to these interpretations. It takes neutral events, like someone cutting in front of us in traffic, and turns them into personal attacks. It's the ego that shouts, "How dare they? Don't they know who I am?" But here's the Stoic remedy. Step back, pause, recognize that these interpretations are just thoughts, not reality. By observing the ego's reactions without getting caught in them, we can see situations more clearly and respond with wisdom instead of emotion. So why does the ego have such a strong hold on us? Its origins are rooted in survival. In our evolutionary past, the ego helped us navigate social hierarchies, protect resources, and avoid danger. It's a mental construct designed to safeguard the self. But in today's world, where survival is often not the primary concern, the ego's mechanisms can backfire. Instead of protecting us, it often creates unnecessary conflict, stress, and alienation. Seneca, in his, warns us about the ego's tendency to inflate or exaggerate threats. He writes, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." The ego's need for control amplifies our fears and anxieties, making us prisoners of our own minds. Yet Seneca also reminds us of our power to liberate ourselves by choosing a different perspective, one grounded in reason and virtue rather than fear and ego. Here's an important truth. The ego isn't inherently bad, it's a natural part of being human. In fact, it can drive us to achieve, to create, and to strive for excellence. The problem arises when the ego takes over, when it becomes the master instead of the servant. Marcus Aurelius captures this balance beautifully when he writes, you are just a tiny part of the vast cosmos. The ego might whisper that we are the center of the universe, but the reality is humbling. We are a small part of something infinitely larger. Recognizing this truth doesn't diminish us, it frees us. It allows us to let go of the need to prove ourselves, to compete endlessly, and to carry the weight of the world on our shoulders. So how can we break free from the ego's grip without denying its existence? Here are some timeless strategies inspired by Stoic philosophy and mindfulness practices. 1. Practice observation. Begin by observing your thoughts and reactions. Notice when the ego is speaking. When you feel offended, superior, or defensive, ask yourself, is this the ego talking? Is this thought helping me, or is it feeding unnecessary suffering? 2. Embrace humility. Marcus Aurelius advises, do not act as if you're going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good. The ego fears humility because it craves recognition, but embracing humility doesn't weaken us. It strengthens our connection to others and to our higher selves. 3. Focus on what truly matters. Epictetus reminds us to prioritize virtue over vanity. Instead of chasing fleeting pleasures or external validation, focus on cultivating qualities like wisdom, courage, and kindness. These are the things that bring lasting peace and fulfillment. 4. Let go of control. The ego hates uncertainty. It wants to control outcomes and predict the future. But as the Stoics teach, much of life is beyond our control. By accepting this truth, we free ourselves from the ego's exhausting need for dominance. 5. Cultivate gratitude. Gratitude is one of the most powerful antidotes to the ego. When we appreciate what we have, we shift our focus from scarcity to abundance. We stop comparing ourselves to others and start finding joy in the present moment. Breaking free from the ego isn't about erasing it, it's about integrating it. When we see beyond the ego's illusions, we find clarity. We realize that life is not about winning, proving, or comparing, but about being. Being present, being compassionate, and being true to ourselves. As Seneca so wisely puts it, you act like mortals in all that you fear, and like immortals in all that you desire. To transcend the ego, we must embrace the fleeting nature of life. The ego clings to permanence, yet everything changes. The ego fears insignificance, yet we are already part of something infinitely significant. So the next time you feel the pull of the ego, whether it's a need to prove yourself, a fear of judgment, or a pang of insecurity, pause. Take a deep breath. Ask yourself, is this the ego talking? Am I seeing clearly, or through a lens of fear and desire? Freedom from the ego doesn't mean losing yourself. It means finding your truest self, the part of you that exists beyond labels, judgments, and comparisons. It's a journey worth taking, one step at a time. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe if you want more modern meditations.